How to use the new gradient features in Photoshop 220. Most of the ways of using gradients haven't changed. However, there's a gradients panel. That's the key thing now. And I'm going to go through about half of the video will be talking about the panel itself. So if you want to jump to the functionality of the panel, how to use it to create gradients, it's about halfway through the video. So you might like to jump through. Now this is just selecting the gradient tool, and you've got the gradient panel there. You can select a gradient. You've also got the different types as well as blending modes. That hasn't changed. And there's a layer. Now that layer was created using the gradient panel, simply by selecting a gradient from the panel, dragging it in. Now, just going to flatten that. So I'm starting completely fresh. And the key thing here is the gradients panel. So window and gradients. Also the layers panel. Gradients panel is a new feature. And the format, the layout, is consistent with all the other gradient features. And also this panel looks very similar now to the brushes, as well as styles, shapes, etc. You can expand, you've got groups. So you've got them grouped in reds, purples, greens. And you can create your own groups. You can create your own gradient presets, and you can put them in groups as well. And you can move them around. And you could, at the top, you've got the most recent used ones I've just used recently. And you can simply just drag from there into the artboard, and it will create a new layer. If you keep dragging, it won't create a new layer. It will just do it once. That's it. But the way around that is using the Alt or Option key. Now I'm going to restore, and I'm going to set it all fresh because I've been messing around with this. I'm going to set it back to the default. Right side menu and restore. So select all of the groups, and you can then delete the lot. That's it. They've all been removed. So you've got no gradients at the moment. Not very useful, but you can restore them. So right side menu, restore default gradients. And there they are again, all back, completely fresh, all in the right order. Now, if you want your old gradients, the ones from CC 2019, etc., go to the legacy command. And there you have it. Your legacy ones are brought back as well. Very useful. So you've got all your old gradients. You don't have to keep them in that legacy folder. You can drag those groups out of that into the main group structure. So you've got all your noise ones, you've got your colour, harmonies, they're all there still. And that's via the legacy gradients. Close that group. What you can also do, you've got an import command. Oh, there's the show recents. That's that line along the top. But you've got import gradients. And if you're like me, I've got hundreds of gradient files. Created lots and lots of them. You can select them just quickly. Once you've used the import command, you can select one GRD file, or 5 or 6 or 10. Click open, and they've now all been added. You can expand that out and see all the gradients there. You can then simply select them and use them. What you can also export them as well. So maybe you've got a selection. I'm just going to select a few. Just select 3 or 4. Some of those purple ones, and then go to the right side menu and export selected gradients. So you can save your own GRD file, which you can then maybe re-import later. Or maybe they're your favourites. You want to save them. Or maybe you want to give them to your friends. I don't know. But you can, let's say, import them back again if you wish. And they will be imported as a new group. Again, right side menu. You can delete the gradients. So if you don't want any of the gradients, you can delete gradients individually. So you can select an individual or select multiple or even a whole group. Click OK then, delete them. So select every one of them. And again, right side menu and delete. You can also do if you right click as well. You don't have to use the right side menu. You can right click. Yeah, you can select a group. Yeah, you've got the option there. Delete group. And that will delete the group as well as all the things in it. So completely gone. No more purples. You can select a gradient. You can rename it, right side menu. Personally, I can't think I've ever renamed a gradient. But there's an option to do that if you wish. Click OK. You can also rename the group as well, which may be more useful. You can also change the thumbnails. So instead of small thumbnails, you can make... Depends. Personally, I prefer small thumbnails. A better feature maybe would be modifiable gradients of thumbnails. So you can make them any size you want. Sadly, you've only got large or small or text or list. You can also select a whole load of gradients. So you can just select them. And then that's it. Select that lot and then just drag. And you can drag them into a different group if you wish. You can drag them back again if you wish as well. So you can reorder all your gradient presets. Spend a whole afternoon doing that if you wish. You can also reorder your groups as well, which may be more useful. You might like them in alphabetical order. You can also use that right side menu, rename the group, as well as delete it. Again, that may be more useful, especially if you create another group of blues. You can move them around. As well as, of course, I say halfway through the video, I will show you the actual use. At the moment, I'm just showing you the panel. So you can go to the right side menu and new gradient preset. Then you can go up to the structure is exactly the same as in the gradients panel in here in the gradient editor. So just select one of those. Then modify the stops. That's the transparency or opacity stops. So you can set that to say 10% or 5%. So you can see through the gradient. You can also add color stops at the bottom of the bar can move them around. Once you've done that, click New. If you don't do that, nothing will be saved. So click New and you can see it's added to the panel. No use clicking OK. New is the thing that actually creates it. It's a bit confusing in a sense because you've just gone in and said New preset. You'd think the OK would save it, but it doesn't. It's the New that does it. And they're saved to that current group. Click OK, and that's it. What you can also do is create a new gradient group. Now, if you create a new gradient group at this point, it'll be added into the group itself that you're currently in. So what you want to do, if you want it to appear at the bottom, nothing matters, but if you want it to appear at the bottom, you have to go to a blank area in the panel. Not there, but just above. That's it, just at that point where there's nothing there. So it's all deselected, and then new gradient group. Give it a name, click OK. And it will be created at the bottom. Again, you can move it around if you want it further up, perfectly OK as well. You can then move gradient presets into it. Now, just drag it across from there, from the gradient panel. Just drag it and it will create a new gradient layer. If there is an existing gradient layer, it will just be added to that. So now if I just drag again, just go and select another one, or click, you can click as well. All that will happen, it will just change the fill layer. You can drag it across again, you can still continue to drag across. But you can just run through it and click. And you'll notice when you're clicking, it's always a radial. The reason for that is in the right side menu, there's an option where you can set the default fill. So you can set it to be linear. You can set it to be diamond. If you hold down the Alt or Option key and then drag, it will create a new layer. So you can create 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. That's the way to do it. Just drag, hold down the Alt or Option key. And then you will generate a new layer, a new fill layer. What you can do then, you can just go over to the Layers panel and set it to difference or darken, the blending mode. You can run through all those, put them all to difference. So you can create a really super colourful design very quickly and easily using this approach. Maybe use multiply or lighten. Once you've done that, of course, what you can do, you can go to the layer menu and you can flatten. And you've got your unusual gradient design. So you can again drag, and when you drag across, it will create a new layer, new gradient fill layer. So you can actually modify it as well. So you go to Layer and Layer Content Options. So that's a Layer menu and Layer Content Options. And that just gives you the option for changing it to linear or changing the gradient, as well as changing the scale, alignment. And you've still got access to all of the gradients in exactly the same format as before. So angle or angular, reflected or mirror, I suppose. Change the angle and click OK. You can also double click on the actual, in the layers panel, the entry. So it will bring up exactly the same panel. Note that if you go and click again over in the panel, it completely ignores it and just replaces it with radial again. But you can change that. If you don't want radial, you can change that. So once you've clicked OK there, and what else? You can also move things around. You can do all the same functionality as before. With that gradient panel, you can do it all within the gradient fill panel as well. Exactly the same. It's exactly the same in the styles as well. So layer menu and flatten image again. And you can use the exactly the same as before. You can use the gradient tool. Just go to the gradient tool in the panel and then just drag across using blending modes like difference or normal. You can also go to layer menu and new fill layer. You can also use layer styles with the gradients. So I'm just going to unlock that gradient and layer menu and layer style and gradient overlay. It's also available in stroke as well and glow. And again, you've got the gradients there. Exactly the same format, exactly the same layout as the gradient panel. Click OK. Now I don't want that. I just wanted to show you, you've got the layer styles and gradients there as well. Undo that layer style. Right side menu and go down and you can see there linear gradient, radial gradient, angle gradient. Now change that to one of those. Say linear. And now when you drag them across or click, they will be used as linear. See there, the design, linear. It's no longer radial. Sadly, the various options and things can't be saved. It would be nice if you could tweak it so you could set the scale and all that sort of stuff as a default. Also, while you're in the options, so if you go over to the layers panel and double click on that, you'll bring up the panel. You can then also modify the origin point as well. Now that will be a nice feature as well to have as a default. Sadly, it's not available. All you've got, right side menu, is the linear gradient, diamond, etc. So you can just run through those. But it's a great way of just trying out all these different gradients. And also, if you combine it with using the Alt or Option, you can build up all kinds of designs very quickly to create the most amazing gradients. That final one, diamond. See the diamond designs there? Simply by clicking on the preset. Yeah, like I say, just bring up the gradient fill, and then you can modify the origin point, which is very useful because you might not want it in the center. You can also change the angle. Once you're happy, click OK. And that's all done via the new functionality in the Gradients panel. All can be found via the Window menu and Gradients, and via this whole selection of different commands in the Gradients menu. You can also right-click as well, and some of the functionality is available via the right-click menu. So just go to a gradient and then use the export or rename or delete. Click OK. And again, at any point, if you messed around and you've changed everything and you're not happy, just use the restore command. I hope you found this tutorial of interest. I'm always adding new tutorials about Photoshop as well as Illustrator and many others. Also, please subscribe to the Graphic Extras channel. And also, please add a comment or two. That'd be really appreciated. Thank you. A dislike or like. Thank you much.